Hello and welcome back to High Fell. So soon. I discovered a slight error in the video upload and something was missing from yesterday, and that is the crucial part of how to remove the blanking plate. The 6-volt motors, which are the only ones we can obtain with the carbon brushes in, are single shaft, and so the shaft doesn't go right the way through the end of the end cap, and it has this little stainless steel blank which also acts as a stop for the shaft or the axle. Although this isn't a Hornby one, it is set out the same way, that it effectively is a dual shaft motor. The Hornby one's, the tail shaft is slightly shorter, but it's the same thing. You can see it comes right the way through, so it comes through this bearing here. So to get this out is quite tricky, but I have found that the easiest way by far is to use the gear puller, the one I got from Tramfabric. It's really helpful, and we're going to use this as a press. So all I'm going to do is assemble it as so. I'm going to take the T-bar off for the moment, and then what we're going to do is engage the pin on the top where the blanking plate is. Once that gets into position, that will locate nicely, and then I'm going to set this up so I can see what's going on underneath. So I'm just going to use the cutout here to keep an eye on things, and then just very carefully with the T-bar in place, all you need to do is apply very gentle pressure. This will release quite easily. You'll feel when it starts to move, and literally what's happening is the little brass bearing is letting go of its grip on the side of the plastic end cap, and that has virtually fully extricated itself. If you go nice and slowly, there's enough spring in these bushers to allow it to come out. If you're too aggressive, you can just snap the carbon brush off the spring part itself, and then just using the pressure of the tweezers themselves, just going to, that's our bearing. This will just drop out. That's gone. So there we are, that's nicely removed. The bearing is nice and clean, so it's not going to have any excess drag or anything like that on it. And then the next stage is quite simply to pop it back in, and I'm going to use this again to line it up and just get it to seat squarely. But as with all good engineering projects, I'm going to have a quick mouthful of tea before we go on to the next stage. Tea has been drunk, which means it must be time to do the next part of preparing this end cap. So first of all, what we're going to do is pop the brushes apart so we can get access to where the bearing is going to seat. Just going to try and get this in as square as I can for now. So the brushes are actually holding it slightly in place, and then we're going to use the gear puller to act as a press again, but in reverse. The little V cutout on here is really useful because that can also accommodate where the electrical contacts are. So bring this down nice and gently. And then all we need to do is pop the T-bar in the top. Ensure that you're applying the load evenly. If it starts to go off at a bit of an angle, move that blanking plate out of the way. What you can do is pop it over, partially drive the bush out again, and that will help straighten it up. So it probably only needs about half a turn on here. You don't want to drive it all the way out, otherwise you're back to square one again, unless it's really bad. I flip it over and then just wind this down by hand. If you do it to one side of the brushes, because the pin is circular, a little tweak of your tweezers and turning as you go in, you can actually get the pin to sit inside the middle of those brushes there. T-bar in again. And to drive that home. So it's not taking very much pressure at all, but it doesn't have very far to travel before it's fully engaged. Pop that out and then we'll have a look on the other side and see, yep, that's nicely seated in there. Just give it a little tweak on there. So that's it. So that's now ready to be installed in either an original equipment motor or another 12-volt one that actually has the BE style, and you can upgrade it to these carbon brushes. So thanks very much for watching. Do like and subscribe. Feel free to share, because this is all about getting people going in with their locomotives if they've got a problem, or installing some extra life to them. I'll do a link to Tramfabrique that do the gear puller. Very good quality, and you always get good service from Sven. I've got no links financially with anybody for anything. Also, I'll do a link where I've been getting the 6-volt battery, 6-volt motors from. So feel free to shop around. If anybody does come up with a solution where you were able to obtain the N20 dual shaft motor with carbon brushes, let me know, and I'll have a look at those, because that would mean that that process that we've just had to do now would be eliminated completely. You just go straight from removing the end cap to installing it on the other motor. So thanks very much for watching. As I say, as always, keep safe and happy modelling.